Today, we are talking with the awesome Rachel Smith. Many of you I know are joining us today from Rachel's network, from the Rachel Smith network, which is fantastic. So you may be new to Rounded. Many of you are coming from the Rounded network. You may be new to Rachel. That's a huge part of the reason we do these webinars as well, which is absolutely sensational. But today we're going to be talking around efficiency, and we're going to be learning from Rachel, who's, as you'll see, a woman of many talents, on how you can really create an amazing business, how you can focus on the things that matter, and how you can avoid that time trap of perhaps convincing yourself that you're being busy and doing really great things when you're not. To give Rachel a bit of a plug, she's a long-time friend of Rounded. And we've done a number of other bits of content that you might see on our blogs. It's great to talk to Rachel in the flesh, but she's a well-known freelance journalist and has written for a range of publications such as Choice, Good Health, the Sunday Telegraph, Inside Out, amongst others. She works for a range of digital agencies, corporate clients and small businesses, writing copy and content. And she's also the founder of Rachel's List, which is an online community and job board aimed at content creators, editors, journalists, writers, and a really thriving community that we've come to know and love here at Rounded as well. So Rachel, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
So I've tried to give you a little bit of an intro there, and of course we've forgotten that on top of all of the awesome things that you do, you are of course a parent as well, a 4-year-old, just to make life even more difficult and challenging. So I guess for the benefit of those in the audience who may not know a lot about you, Rachel, maybe you can give us a little bit of context about your professional journey to date, why you started freelancing, and how the Rachel that we know and love today came to be.
Well, God, that's a big question. Well, I started freelancing back when I was about 27, so close to 20 years now, which is terrifying to think about. But yeah, I was sort of doing a lot of, I was subbing mainly back then, and then I edged into feature writing, which I loved far more, and just was bouncing from magazine to magazine and doing a lot of job sharing and doing a lot of, bits and pieces, but I was predominantly in-house, and then it was always my dream to start freelancing. Even though I didn't think it was as big as it is now, I always wanted to work for myself, have complete freedom and that sort of thing. And I ended up landing 2 awesome gigs as a movie reviewer, which pretty much catapulted me straight into the freelance world. But the only trouble was I was really lonely. I knew a lot of people, but most of them were in-house, and I just thought, I need to meet some people. I'm always at home, or I'm sitting on my bum in a movie theater and I never meet anybody, and I never felt like I was really connecting with anyone. So I was doing a job share at the time as well with the magazine, and there were 2 other writers. We all shared the job, but we'd never met, and we just left notes for each other to do handovers every week. So I left them a note and I said, do you guys want to meet in person and go and have yum cha? And they went, yeah. So we did. And we just had the best time, and, got on like a house on fire. And then I said, well, let's do this again, and maybe we can invite some other freelancers. And it just got bigger and bigger. These lunches, they just became massive. And I was sort of the organizer. I had the email group of people that wanted to come along. And so I would just email the group when there was a new lunch. But then it just got huge. Like, we're talking hundreds of people on this list, and everyone started calling it Rachel's List. And it was like this underground thing that and editors started to know about it. They were sending me jobs saying, can you just send this to your list? Because they knew they would find a sub in half an hour, or a writer or someone. And so, yeah, that's really how Rachel's List began. It just was this organic thing that exploded. And then it got so big that I wasn't able to send out anymore. I had to split the list in 2 and send the same message to 2 groups, because Outlook would spam it to everybody and say, oh, it would get denied. And so I thought I really have to do something. So that's when we actually went online.
Yeah, cool. And how big's the community now?
There's Well, we have like probably about 7,000 registered users. And then a proportion of those are gold members and also job posters, people who post with us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess why we've got like a heap of people that have joined us today on both Facebook Live, so hello to everybody on Facebook Live and here in Zoom, is one of the things about being a freelancer, right, is that you're responsible for everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the definition of being a solopreneur or solo business owner. Yeah. And in varying degrees, that's something that we've learned that all freelancers, or most, I should say, freelancers in some way, shape or form struggle with some aspect of running their business. And so given that you have two different sides to your businesses and a family and everything else, we're really keen to understand some of the insights that you can share around how you manage to juggle everything that you need.
But to get everything done and to make sure that nothing is missed, I do have to plan really effectively, and I do have to I have a lot of really solid systems that I rely on. Otherwise, the wheels just fall off the trolley. And so what I'm really big on trying everything. Like if I see a service that comes along, I'm a real nerd and I want to get in there and see, hey, is that good? Is that going to save me time? And I'll literally try a lot of things. I also do that for Rachel's List, so I can write about it for people. But I'm getting to a point where I've created systems for me that work for me. And so I was once on digital. I used to have digital lists and digital diaries and all of that sort of stuff, digital calendars. And I've just recently gotten away with all of that and put it on hard copy. So I have a hard copy diary, and every Sunday night I print out my list for the week, and it's all in sections. It's prioritized according to what needs to be done every single day. And then secondary priorities, and then miscellaneous stuff. And there's Rachel's List on there and my other work as well. So that is really my thing that I follow. And then I also use Trello, and I have boards for clients and boards for myself. Can
you explain just quickly what Trello is for anybody who might not know?
Yeah, so Trello is, it's an online service. It's like a pin board, I suppose you would call it. You have lists within, so you create a board, say a board like Rachel, this is my Rachel's List board. And then we might, within that, have lists, and we might have ideas for the blog. We might have things we want to do on the toolkit, or, ideas for us to write EDMs to job posters. And then within those lists, you can create cards. And you can move everything around. So if you action something, you can move it to, that's gone, or you can archive it. So it's like having a massive whiteboard all the time, but it's online. Yeah, so that is super handy. I use that all day. And I also have a bullet journal, and I write down everything that comes up. Because, people ring you, or they say, can you do this? Or, someone wants something quickly. And if you're a freelancer and you want to get into a flow, you could stop and deal with all that stuff all the time. But an easier way is just to write it down, get on with what you were doing, and then return to your bullet journal later and action stuff, cross it off. I'm a very big crosser offer.
Maybe somewhere in between.
I just want to make it really clear that I don't wake up and meditate and drink lemon water. No.
Good.
The first thing that I do, which is terrible, but I think most of us do it, is I open my eyes, pick up my phone, and basically check my email, and I go, oh crap, that happened. And then I action any damage control things that need to be done. Then I'll check Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Then I get up and have an absolutely massive cup of tea and deal with my toddler. And it's always a race before 9 o'clock to get him wherever he needs to go. And then I come back, and the very first thing I do before I do anything else is I clean the house. Not a full clean. We're not talking spring cleaning, but I'll literally just tidy. Every surface has to be clean, everything in its rightful place. And then my brain goes, right, now I can start. So
that's like a trigger, is it, for you to get everything in order and ready for the day?
It has to be in order. I know that there's a lot of people out there who can work in this organized chaos and, have things around them and can work. I'm not like that at all. I can't think unless everything's clean and, in order. And then I'll have my list, and it will link to my diary, which will have a structure in it for the day. So 9 to 11, I'm doing interviews. 11 to 1, I'm writing. 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I'm, doing research for something, or I'm dealing with Rachel's List stuff. So I have a really structured day, and I don't procrastinate at all, which is crazy because I used to be the worst procrastinator. And then you have a kid and you realise, oh my God, I wasted years of my life. I could have 3 houses by now, and yeah.
Okay, so if we're to summarise that, then you benefit from writing, obviously having things written down. You've gone sort of full circle and now back to using a handwritten notes or a diary, and you block out time in your diary and you stick religiously to making sure that you do what you say you're going to do when you said you're going to do it.
I try because otherwise things go awry and then I'm behind. And I think when you're part-time, you don't have the luxury of going, well, I've still got Thursday and Friday. I don't have that. So, I have to be pretty, straight with what I'm doing.
One of the things that we always hear, and I know that I'm the same, is that there is the whole concept of being busy for busy's sake, right? And that doesn't often mean, or sometimes mean, that you are concentrating on doing the right thing. Sometimes just doing something makes you feel better, and it might not actually be anything particularly constructive. So writing a list is one thing. Making sure you tackle the things on the list that are most important is an entirely different thing altogether. So talk to us about how you prioritize what comes first.
Okay, so obviously obviously my kid comes first, but once he's out doing his thing, my priority is Rachel's List generally. So I have to slot, everything's a bit like a Tetris puzzle in my life, but if I'm having a busy day with Rachel's List, and list members who are listening to this will know that some days we get like 3 jobs, bang, 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 all in a row. And sometimes I'll even send out 3 newsletters because the jobs aren't very nice and don't come in all in one hit. They come in an hour after each other. And so it's like, oh God. Anyway, so then that will be a really busy day for me on Rachel's List. And any other work that I've got for my own personal freelancing has to take a bit of a back seat. So those days, sometimes I'm up till 12 or 1 because I still have to get all of that covered off. So Rachel's List, generally priority, answering people's emails, making sure we're really responsive. All of that is just super important to me. The other way that I stay focused to make sure that I get through everything is I'm really big on batching stuff. So I'll basically batch everything in my life, from cooking for the week to emailing to, lead generation to Rachel's List stuff. So, for example, a way that we use Rounded, okay, so we have a lot of data that needs to go into Rounded routinely, and I will batch all of that, do it all at once, and then I'll upload it with an Excel spreadsheet, and Rounded just goes blah, 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 and puts it all into the right thing, and I just go, yes, and then I can move on. So batching is really the best thing, because I think that so many of us think, oh, we'll multitask and switch from that task and that, and it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work for me. But since I started doing that and actually carving out time to batch similar tasks, for a great example is your social media. If you're doing social media for clients, you want to batch that 1 day a week or on a Sunday so that it's ready to go for the next week, or even months ahead. You don't want to be doing that every day and handling the engagement, because it just sucks so much time from your day, and before you know it, you haven't really done anything. So it's really important to do a lot of those things for our business: admin, social, content, financial stuff, batching it, getting it done, so you have more time to work on other stuff.
Talk to us a little bit about what are the the absolute essential tools that you use, and are they different between sort of Rachel's List and your freelance journalism business?
Yeah, I mean, some obviously work together, but there are, I think you also wanted to ask me about staying focused and things that help with that sort of thing. So some of the tools I use for that, there's a really great little one called Forest. I don't know if you've heard of that, Oliver. It's it's an app, and basically if you don't touch your phone, say you activate Forest and put your phone down and then you start working, and if you don't touch your phone, the app grows a tree. And the more that you leave it, the bigger the tree grows, and it's nice and lush. But if you pick up your phone, the tree dies. So, so that's a really That's a good one to kind of keep you, away from your phone, I suppose. But the other thing that is really good is the Pomodoro technique. And that gives you, there's an app and a website called Tomato Timer, and you can get blocks of 25 minutes. So if you need to batch and get stuff done, you just set the timer. Everyone can do 25 minutes. Then you have a break, get a cup of tea, whatever you want to do. But it's really good for keeping you on track and keeping you moving through your to-do list. I've mentioned Trello. You all know that I love Rounded. I love Rounded so much that I have 2 accounts. One for me, one for Rachel's list. So yeah, big fan. And the other thing I do is I switch off notifications, but I don't do that for long stretches. I'm not one of those people that can do email at morning at night. I have to be responsive during the day. So it's only if I need a 25-minute break to write something or do something, I'll do that.
Sounds like it just comes down to self-discipline. It sounds like you block out time and you're disciplined enough to make sure that you focus on what you're going to focus on, when you're going to focus on it.
Yeah.
But that you don't make life super difficult for yourself, and you do allow yourself every now and again to turn on your notifications and to find out what's going on in the outside world.
Definitely. And obviously we all have to monitor our socials as well if we have a business and that sort of thing. So all of that has to be, kind of tightly controlled, doesn't it? Otherwise you fall down that rabbit hole. But I also think it's really important for small business owners to recognize your limitations, because I think, if you go from, say, I was full-time and I worked non-stop before I had my little boy, and you get into the habit of taking on a lot because you have that flexibility, you have so much more time. But I think when you run a business and work part-time, or even just work full-time, you need to be aware of what you can actually do, because I think if you take on too much, it doesn't matter how many systems you've got, it will be a disaster and you'll disappoint people.
The title of the webinar was Avoiding the Time Trap, okay? And we sort of touched earlier on the whole concept of doing stuff just to make you feel busy, right? Like to do something to make you feel like you're doing something. So what are the time traps? What are the things that you might either automate or use a system for, or just have to focus on not doing because they're a time suck, and actually, even though it might make you feel like you're doing something, it's entirely counterproductive and it is another form of procrastination. So for anybody listening, what are the things to really put to the bottom of the pile?
Gosh, well, I think that's going to be different for everyone, isn't it? For every business. Obviously, I like to say that social media is, complete time suckage, isn't it? It's just, you can get sucked in there and you can be on a spiral in there for days. So I think that you really need to have structure around that, and structure around your usage of social media. And actually, it's a tool. It's a fantastic tool for reaching our customers and reaching our audience. But if you're not structured, it's a disaster for your day, for your productivity, for your efficiency, and all your time is just going out the window. Multitasking is a massive time suckage thing, because you are switching your focus so much, and you're diluting that productivity that you could be having if you just focused on one task. We think that we're doing a lot of things, at the same time and getting a lot more done, but we're actually not. We're just diluting, our productivity and, getting a lot less done, I think, than if we just stop, do one thing at a time, move on to the next thing. Is
there a way that you have to get yourself into the zone of creating?
Yeah, well, there is for me, and I think that is a really good question. And I think that that's a great question for people who have to write content but are not natural writers, because I think it's a massive struggle. Like, it's a struggle for natural writers as well. We all have times when we just can't get the right thing down, but sometimes you just have to go bleh and just, put it all down and then fix it later. I think for me, I find it much easier, like I was saying before, when things are clean around me. For some reason, my brain switches on. Yep. I can also find it easy. I think you can go to a different location, like a library, co-working space, a friend's place, another room in the house, the dining room table. Sometimes that can click you on into that creation mode. Going for a walk can really suddenly, get you in that mode as well. And also planning, like you could actually plan it out. So you write the sections that you want to write about, and then it's a case of filling in like a formula. I think that can also make it a bit easier when you're struggling with how to put it together. Like write the body of it and then go back and do the opening bit, which can obviously be the hardest sometimes.
What are the things that you decide to outsource or automate? And, how have you sort of worked out, even if that costs you a little bit of money, how do you sort of justify the time saving and the time cost and all of that kind of thing? Obviously doing those things, how does it help you focus on the stuff that you really want to be doing?
It really is such a great investment, outsourcing certain things in your business that you're not good at. I really think you have to acknowledge, I'm really crap at Facebook ads. I don't actually want to learn Facebook ads. Facebook ads put me to sleep. I just don't want to even know. So, or, I don't want to do admin. My time is much better spent thinking up, pie in the sky ideas for Rachel's list. How can we grow? What do we want to do next for the toolkit? Would that be a great blog post? Or, can we think about what we want to do for our masterclasses next year? That's where my time is best spent, not doing data entry or, that sort of thing. So we outsource a lot of data entry that needs to be done that we can't automate, stuff that you actually, and we have someone who tracks things for us, like the most popular toolkit downloads or our blog posts that have had a lot of traction. And we think, why has that had a lot of traction? We look and think of ways that we can enlarge on that content or do something going forward that uses that content. And the toolkit stuff obviously helps us plan for future toolkit products. And we also have, so that's Janelle, we have a VA who does that sort of stuff for us. And she also does.
How did you find her?
And I found Janelle, how did I find Janelle? It might have been through the Inner West Mums. They have a jobs board. Yeah. And I found Janelle that way. And she's just awesome. Like, she's kind of in the background and operating, doing stuff that I can't do. And
is she virtual, essentially? Or?
All our freelancers are remote working. Yeah. So then we also have Claire, who is, we say she's our connections manager, but she actually needs a better title. She needs like the everything girl, or I don't know. She's just incredible. She does our ads. She does marketing. She does automations because we use ActiveCampaign for our EDMs, and she's just across all the automations and has a brain like blah and thinks how to do those pathways and figure it all out. And she's also really just such a valuable sounding board for me. I can say, what do you think about this? And she'll, bring me down to earth or help me come up with a way to do it. So she's just brilliant. I would be lost without both of those people. And they only work for us part-time, but the value in what I pay them from what I get back and the time I get back is just immeasurable. The other really big thing we outsource, obviously, is development. And that's a huge cost for us. So you have to really think carefully about, if we pay for this to be done, how is it going to make our job easier? How's it going to make the business easier to run? How is it going to give us that time back?
Yeah, there's obviously the time cost is the way that you justify the return on investment there.
Absolutely. I think, like I was saying before, you need to go, what can't I do, and who can do that for me, and find those people. Like, I feel exceedingly lucky that I have freelancers around me who are so great at things that I can't do. And you have to sort of also be open to letting go of aspects of your business and giving them to someone else to do. And it really can, be amazing if you do that. Like, we hire other freelancers at different times to do SEO or to do sales for us. Again, things that I don't want to do or can't do. And it's just great. Yeah.
The last couple of questions that I have is family, obviously hugely important. And, how do you set those boundaries? How do you stop your work life encroaching on your family life? And how do you go from being, Rachel the mum, to the co-founder of Rachel's List, to Rachel the journalist, to all of those things? How do you set the boundaries between those various aspects of your life?
That's a really hard question. Well, I do try and set boundaries in the sense that I will, obviously, like I'm really structured in how I plan my day. So when I'm not, in those blocks of time where things need to be done, I'll try and be present, with my kid and not be doing stuff when I'm with my kid. And I'm also trying to be really structured about bedtimes and stuff like that, because I've been through a stage recently where I got extremely burnt out and had to take 2 weeks off, and was just really not well. And, I even went for tests and everything thinking, what's wrong with me? And what was wrong with me was I was staying up till 1 o'clock and getting up at 6 a.m. and thinking that was cool, and it's not cool. And I just, eventually it catches up with you. So I'm trying to hit the sack at 10 and be really, really, just be really mindful of my mental health and my physical health as well. But that, I will say, I'm a work in progress. It falls down all the time. If I'm really, really busy, I find it hard to, get to the gym, or that's always the first thing to go if there are other pressing things that happen. Yeah.
What tips would you give, to perhaps get a handle on managing a workload and introducing a bit more structure into their day?
Yep. Okay. Absolutely create systems for things that will save you time. So find out what are those apps out there that can help you. Is it Trello? Is it Airtable? Is it, there's a great digital to-do list called To Do. It's like a French to-do spelling. And that syncs with your phone. All of those things help keep all your tasks together and save you time. Find the systems and, use them. Batch similar tasks. I think that will just save you enormous amounts of time and bring that stress right down. Organize your finances. I think that this is a huge one for small businesses because I'm not sure of the exact stat, but I know that a lot of small businesses really struggle with cash flow, and it's a massive problem. So really keep on top of your incomings and outgoings, obviously with a package like Rounded. Send your invoices. The amount of freelancers I know that delay sending invoices, and that can just completely mess with your cash flow for months on end because so many clients take forever to pay. So be on top of your invoicing, be on top of chasing. Don't be afraid to chase, and don't be afraid to, say, pay me. We haven't really touched on automations. But I also think this is a really important one for small businesses. Now, automations is obviously the systems that you build into your business, integrations with other systems like ActiveCampaign, like Rounded, like, Google Docs or whatever you use, you can build in those integrations with a good developer. So it's really a case of thinking, what do I do all the time? Can this be automated? Is there a way to do it really simply, and talk to a developer who can communicate with you and understand what you're trying to do and figure out a way to do it really efficiently? That's the tricky part. Developers like that are really hard to find. But also it could be something as simple. You were talking about the invoicing piece and just going back to something sort of Rounded related in that it could be something simple as having the tool to automate sending an invoice reminder when an invoice goes overdue. Exactly.
Takes so much stress away that.
Yes. Exactly. And also even basic automations are things like canned responses, and if you have Gmail, you're sending the same email constantly to customers or to suppliers or to whoever. You're sending that email 10 times a day. Create a canned response. I think in Gmail you can even create those templates, and then it's really easy to just click send, so that's an automation in itself. Anything that saves you time, that saves you doing that repetitive task over and over is really important. But the bigger automations, the ones where you're integrating with other services, can be incredible. Absolute pain in the ass to set up, but they'll set you free once you do.
All right. Well, look, we've got a few questions, so you're okay just to hang on and just answer a few questions. So the first one, I guess, perhaps to the point around automation, from Sally, who's in the Zoom room, and she said, "Do you handle your social media from one place? If so, what tool do you use, or do you visit each platform separately?"
Oh God, no, Sally. No. Okay, so our social media for Rachel's list is split into two. So basically our VA handles the long-term scheduling. So you have regular things that go out on your social media as a business, regular kind of, promo messages or whatever. She handles all that. And then I handle the day-to-day, week-to-week social media scheduling. And obviously with the jobs, we have a lot of jobs coming through. We want to get those out to the right people, make sure everyone sees them. So we use something called Buffer to do all our social media and to do bulk. And then there's an add-on called Bulk Buffer. And we basically load up, it's like a CSV file, but it's more a text file, and you load it into Bulk Buffer and then it goes and populates in Buffer, and you can organize it to go into the times when your audience are online, and you can set it up in that way. So that's just a brilliant time saver.
Now, if we flip over to the Facebook Live feed, a question from Sharon. This is a good one. So do you allow a time buffer for sort of emergencies or rush jobs? And I guess sort of like, have you got a unplanned stuff that might happen buffer when you're planning your day?
Yeah, but for me personally, do I have a buffer? I try to, in my deadlines of my planning, because I'm that master planner, I try to build in buffer days before things are due, especially because a lot of the time with a lot of the work that I do, especially with business writing, you need to send quotes back to your experts and case studies, and they need to approve them before you can file the story. And you don't realise that can sometimes take days. And so you miss your deadline, and it looks bad. So you have to build in those buffers for contingencies like that,
Awesome. So we've got another question from the feed from Marissa, who is, again, a long-time rounded user and a great supporter of us. So it's great to see you. And she's also a journalist too. And she wants to know, what do you delegate as a freelance journalist? I think there's two parts to the question, but that will be the first part of it. What are the things that you choose to delegate?
What, for Rachel's list or for me personally?
Well, she says as a freelance journalist, so I'm guessing she's talking about your journalism work.
I know a lot of journalists will subcontract to other journalists or, hire juniors to help them write or research. I don't do any of that. I do all of that myself. But obviously I'll hire designers and developers to do all that side of my websites. I do very basic design stuff in Canva and WordSwag, but for anything really important, I get it designed. And I will do basic websites, but I have a raft of developers to call on for the stuff I can't do. So that sort of thing.
And what about things like, going back to your journalism work, what about things like transcription, for instance?
Oh, yes, of course. So, I
Thanks,
just
Sharon.
don't want to kill myself if I have to transcribe anything. So I will send everything to rev.com and get them to transcribe. Yeah.
REV?
REV.com, yeah.
I'm just putting that in chat for anybody who wants to have a look.
Yeah. Really handy. You get it overnight. And that's another thing I batch. I try, if I've got lots of interviews, I'll try and pack them all into one morning, and then I send all the things to Rev and get all the transcripts back the next morning. And then I just give myself a big pat on the back and think,
Good. Okay, Rev, there you go, journalists. Rev it is.
Yeah.
All right, question from Linda. Linda from the Zoom room. How do you fit in self-care, for example, exercise and other stuff? So what about Rachel time? I think.
So there isn't a lot of Rachel time, Linda. I wish there was more, but so this really depends on what my day looks like. So I look at my list and I think, what have I got? What's really important? And obviously, have any jobs come in the morning? If they have, there's no gym that morning. No way. And I always say to myself, I'm going to go to the gym before I pick up Charlie in the afternoon. And I never, ever do. You have to do it in the morning. You really do. And so I will sometimes drop him off and go to the gym if I have a quiet morning. And if I get to the gym 3 times a week, I am laughing. I think I'm awesome.
The questions are coming in thick and fast now. So from Michelle, I think this goes back to perhaps something you said at the beginning. Do you think it's helpful to have a hard copy of your list, printed out as well as a digital copy? I know that you seem like you've gone back to being a hard copy person, right?
Yes. So what I do, Michelle, is I have like a diary, and that has all the structure of my day written into the days. But then I have the hard copy list you know, with a bulldog clip on the front of the diary. So the diary comes everywhere with me and my list is right there. And I just carry that everywhere because I like marking things off.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's done. You know, if I can mark everything off that list in the week, that never happens, but it's all right when it does.
So down to is Marissa again would like to know, like, when it comes to pitching and sourcing new opportunities for the journalism business, is that something you can batch in terms of finding opportunities, or you know, are there any shortcuts to continuing to develop business and find new opportunities, that kind of thing? Maybe shortcuts is the wrong word. Any efficiencies, or is that just you've just got to play the numbers game?
No, absolutely. I think pitching and lead generation, I mentioned before, is an awesome thing if you can batch it. You know, you have one day a week. I mean, I know we have a great freelancer on our list called Lindy Alexander, and she has said to us that she does lead generation, letters of introduction to people on LinkedIn every Friday, I think. It might be Friday afternoons. So you just pick a time of your week and you think, right, I am going to find 20 new clients that I'm going to target, or I'm going to find 5 new editors or 5 new outlets that I want to pitch to. And then, you know, put them all together in that time, batch those pitches and the research, send them out, you know. We've got a great tool on the toolkit called the Pitch Tracker, which is so popular. And it basically, you can basically feed all your pitches into it and then say, are they in limbo? Have they been commissioned? And it has little graphs showing you, you know, how you're going with your pitches. So you can see, you know, firstly, are your pitches getting over the line? It's got a pitch hit rate thing. Yeah. And then you can see where your pitches are at. Do you need to follow up? Do you need to re-pitch, you know? So using tools like that can be really useful, and batching your pitches so that you're not doing it, you know, all the time. Yeah. And actually having something like Trello or a, you know, even a notebook where you write down ideas that come to you, because as journos, you're constantly thinking, oh my God, that person's awesome. Maybe they would be up for a story, or, oh, what about that? I could do something on that. So you write down those angles, and so you've always got this stream of ideas to feed into, I suppose. So
it's now 8 minutes to 1. I think that's that point. That's a really good positive note to draw the webinar to an end. So Rachel, on behalf of everybody, and we've had a very full room, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. It's been really useful and exciting. I'd love to wish you all the best for the continued success of Rachel's List, and you know, I'm delighted that we can continue our partnership as well between Rounded. Have a great afternoon, guys.
It was great to chat.
No worries. See you, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Bye. Cheers.